In the world of Pokémon, there are many mysteries and theories surrounding the various Pokémon and their connections. Who doesn't like Pokémon, right? I mean, essentially, they are just animals or objects from real life, but more colorful, rounder, cuter, and of course, more dangerous. You really would never want to get shocked black all over by a Pikachu like Ash, right? Speaking of Ash, we will have a theory about him later. But today, let's talk about another story, a pretty interesting mystery about two Pokémon that seem unrelated. And that's Gengar and Clefable. Welcome back, dreamers, to the Theory Hub, where we discuss things that probably won't happen. But hey, at least it's fun, right? I'm Lander, and today's topic will be, is Gengar Clefable after it dies? This theory is not only based on the similarities in appearance and features, but also delves into the spiritual and mystical aspects of the Pokémon world. One of the main reasons why many people believe that Gengar is Clefable's form after it dies is the physical resemblance between these two Pokémon. Both have a similar body shape, long ears, short arms, and chubby legs. If you look closely, you can see that Gengar looks like a shadow of Clefable, but with a more ghostly style. Gengar's pointed ears are a variation of Clefable's round ears, while Gengar's large bright eyes contrast with Clefable's big kind eyes. Even Gengar's wide grin can be seen as a darker version of Clefable's gentle smile. Another similarity between Gengar and Clefable is their color and style. Clefable is usually light pink, representing innocence and purity, while Gengar is deep purple, signifying mystery and spookiness. Purple is often associated with death and supernatural things in many cultures, which further reinforces the theory that Gengar could be Clefable after it dies. This contrast is like two sides of the same coin, suggesting that there is a deeper connection between these two Pokémon. Clefable is a fairy-type Pokémon, symbolizing purity and magic, while Gengar is a ghost-type Pokémon, representing things from the afterlife. This makes the theory about the connection between these two Pokémon even more compelling. In many cultures and beliefs, fairies and demons are often seen as two sides of the same spiritual nature, a balance between light and darkness. Clefable may represent the light and life part, while Gengar represents the dark and death part. If we consider the behavior and personality of Clefable and Gengar, we will see more interesting similarities and contrasts. Clefable is known as a gentle and kind Pokémon, often helping other Pokémon and humans. Clefable likes quiet places and often appears at night under the moonlight, which also suggests a mystical aspect of it. On the other hand, Gengar is often described as mischievous Pokémon that likes to play pranks, but also not less scary. Gengar can turn invisible and likes to scare others, which is completely opposite to Clefable's gentle nature. However, Gengar's mischievous and prank-loving nature can be understood as a transformation of Clefable's personality after it dies, when Clefable's soul is altered by death and becomes more ghostly. Both Clefable and Gengar have special abilities that, if looked at closely, we can see the connection between them. Clefable can float gently with its small wings, while Gengar can become invisible and move through walls. Clefable's ability to fly can be seen as a connection to the spiritual world, where souls can freely move without being bound by physical laws. When Clefable dies and becomes Gengar, this ability may transform into the power to become invisible and pass through objects, a more ghostly version of flying. Legends and folklore can also provide clues about the connection between Clefable and Gengar. In many cultures, the souls of the dead are often believed to transform into a new form of existence, usually a spirit or ghost. Clefable, with its gentle and mystical nature, can easily be imagined as a peaceful spirit after death. When this spirit is influenced by death and supernatural elements, it can transform into Gengar, a ghostly Pokémon with supernatural abilities. However, if we look deeper, we can see that Gengar also has complex relationships with humans and other Pokémon. Gengar is not just a troublemaker, but also has emotional and complex aspects. This can be understood as Gengar, despite having a ghostly and mischievous personality, still has remnants of Clefable's soul within. In various versions of the Pokémon games and anime, we also see hints about the connection between Clefable and Gengar. In some episodes of the anime, Gengar is depicted as having a special relationship with places that have moonlight and often appears at night, similar to Clefable. This further reinforces the theory that Gengar could be Clefable after it dies. Additionally, in the game versions, Clefable and Gengar both have special moves and abilities, suggesting that they may share a common origin. If we approach this theory from a scientific and spiritual perspective, we can see even more interesting aspects. In the Pokémon world, there are many supernatural phenomena and Pokémon species with special abilities related to spirits and death. For example, many ghost-type Pokémon have stories related to the spirits of the dead or supernatural phenomena. Gengar, with its ability to become invisible and scare others, fits perfectly with the image of a spirit transformed from Clefable after it dies. From a spiritual perspective, we can view the transformation from Clefable to Gengar as a journey of the soul. Clefable, with its gentle and mystical nature, can be seen as a soul in a peaceful state. When this soul is influenced by death and supernatural elements, it can transform into Gengar, a ghostly and mischievous spirit. This also fits with many beliefs and legends about the transformation of the soul after death. From a cultural and social perspective, the theory about the connection between Clefable and Gengar also reflects human concepts and beliefs about life and death. Clefable, with its gentle and mystical nature. If we compare Clefable and Gengar with other Pokémon species, we also see many interesting similarities and differences. For example, in the Pokémon world, there are many pairs of Pokémon with special relationships with each other, often evolution forms or species that have biological or spiritual connections. Clefable and Gengar can be seen as a special pair of Pokémon, with a connection between life and death, light and darkness. Another interesting aspect is the ability to transform and evolve of Pokémon species. In the Pokémon world, many Pokémon species can evolve into more powerful forms or transform to adapt to their surroundings. This further reinforces the theory about the connection between these two Pokémon species. The theory that Gengar is Clefable after it dies is not only based on the similarities in appearance and features, but also opens up the spiritual and mystical aspects of the Pokémon world. The resemblance in shape, color, type, and personality between Clefable and Gengar all point to a deep connection between these two Pokémon species. Even though this is just a theory and there is no clear evidence to confirm it, it opens up many new and interesting perspectives on the Pokémon world. If this theory is true, then Clefable and Gengar are not just two separate Pokémon species, but two different forms of the same soul. Clefable represents life and light, while Gengar represents death and darkness. The transformation from Clefable to Gengar can be seen as a spiritual journey, where the soul undergoes transformation and adapts to the supernatural environment after death. The Pokémon world always holds many mysteries and untold stories, and the theory about the connection between Clefable and Gengar is one of the most interesting stories. It not only helps us understand these two Pokémon species better, but also opens up new aspects of life and death, light and darkness in the Pokémon world. And that is our entire theory on the topic. Is Gengar actually Clefable after it dies? If you also like this theory, please leave a number 1. If you are not satisfied and have any suggestions, please comment to let us know. And don't forget to suggest to Theory Hub the upcoming topics you want to see, so our team can serve you better. This is Lander from the Theory Hub, wishing you all a great day.